Welcome to another RetailWire Roundtable. Today's topic is going to be on loyalty. What is customer loyalty now? What are customers looking for in terms of loyalty from retailers? Here we have three experts in the room, and I'm just looking forward to a really good conversation with all of them. We'll do an intro just so people know who everyone is. I'm Chase Spinney, CEO of RetailWire, and Bob, why don't you go first?
I'm Bob Phibbs, the retail doctor. If you have a brick and mortar store and you're looking to increase conversions in your store, I'm the guy you're going to call, whether you're 500 locations or down to middle or even smaller mom and pops. The reality is we have got to find a reason for someone to want to buy it today when so many things are available online.
David Slavic, co-founder and partner at Ascendant Loyalty. I've been in the business for quite a long time. I don't have a doctorate like Bob does, but we specialize in consulting and building programs and running programs for clients in retail, specialty retail, hospitality, etc. And we're global. It's great to be with you today, Chase.
Yeah, thank you. And my name's Chuck Garrett. I'm based in Barcelona, Spain, but from the United States originally. So my company called Currency Alliance provides connectivity between different loyalty programs. So we work with 22 or 23 banks, 45 or 50 airlines, almost all the large hotel groups, quite big retail organizations like a Volta, Ticketmaster, Enterprise Rent-A-Car, and various others. And I'm looking forward to this conversation. So Chase, thank you very much for having me today.
Yeah, thanks you all for being here. Loyalty is one of those things that has a blurry edge to it. Like some people think it's just points programs, rewards programs, and others include a lot more of the customer journey. Maybe we could just start out by giving kind of your point of view on what is customer loyalty.
Wow, that's a loaded question because everybody has a different definition.
Exactly.
But I would argue, loyalty is sort of appreciation for a brand. And we're going to talk a little bit about points today, I think. My personal view is that points do not make a person loyal. They can influence customer behavior, but a person's loyalty to a brand comes primarily from their cumulative experience interacting with that brand and the overall perception of value. And so points can have an impact on the perceived value, but you build loyal relationships with people and brands that you think have your back, like they're going to take care of you. And so even if in the current economic climate, I think the brands that are looking after their customers and trying to deliver good value are the ones that are maintaining loyalty or even building loyalty. I'll pass over to Bob.
Oh. Well, I don't have a loyalty company, so this is going to be an interesting conversation, Chase. I would say I agree with you actually on that, Charles, that I'm a points whore. There's no two ways about it. United, Marriott have me forever. And having said that, I was leaving Palm Springs for a keynote in Denver, and I had left the house right there in Palm Springs, 5 minutes from the airport, and I walk in the door and it says canceled. And I'm like, how could it be canceled? Like, I have a keynote there in, tomorrow morning. And so I go up to the counter and the one goes, give me 5 minutes. I was like, okay. So she comes back. She says, come with me. We go out to the curb. She calls a cab. She goes, take this man to LAX. Here are your tickets, Mr. Phibbs. Your flight leaves at 3:00. You'll make your keynote. Here's your voucher for the return trip as well. Thank you for being a 1K flyer. That happened 5 years ago. That is the point of loyalty. I think people think that, it's the points. No, if you want my loyalty, your loyalty is you get me to the place where I need to be, at least at an elite level with 1K, for example. But I think we do forget that, and it does all become, I get points. And I think the challenge I would put to both of our other guests here today, Chase, is I think an awful lot of smaller retailers, because they like getting points and they see the big guys do it, that they offer it, and all they really are doing is finding other ways to give more discounts, and that can be really not a good idea.
transactional loyalty is basic. As technology has evolved over time, as Chuck knows, having created the Currency Alliance, which is really a one-of-a-kind operation in the sense of everything that he's brought to this business. And if you haven't read some of Chuck's tomes or get his newsletter, you should. Because he's very, very, I'm making him smile, but he's very, very actualized to the whole space in total. And I myself have been doing this for about 25 years, believe it or not. And loyalty in and of itself is a program. And so for those viewing it right now, if you don't have a program in place, the place to start is really understanding what kind of data are you collecting or what potential do you have? Then what do you know about your customer metrics? Then build a financial model to understand if a programmatic approach makes sense for you. So guess what? United and American, those were the first programs. American came first and United came second about 2 weeks later. So it's not retail, but boy, oh boy, have they incorporated retail over time because it represents billions of revenue to the airline. They're making more money off of their miles and their credit card relationship than they are off of their flights. So the fact of the matter is, Bob's 1,000% correct that just putting a program in place because your competitors have it may or may not be a good idea. The good part is if your competitors have it and you don't, you can actually look at what they're doing and then build a program that's better than what they're doing. You never want to do something where you just meet them one-to-one. And we've actually done that in a couple of different categories, which is kind of interesting. And now the last thing that I'll say is the program should not be in a silo. It has to be supportive of the brand and the brand mission. If there's a disconnect in any way, shape, or form, you ruin any kind of affinity that you have with your customer. They love the fact that you provide personalized service. You already have it. You don't need a loyalty program to provide personal service. They like you because you show them that you know them because you're taking the data and applying the analytics and understanding and now AI to do a better job of personalizing the experience. So having a loyalty or a reward or recognition construct, or something that we'll talk about in a bit about emotional loyalty, not transactional loyalty. Show me that you love me, not just know me, but show me that you love me and have that appreciation for me as a customer. That's where the market is going. Chase?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point because, a loyalty program is a value exchange. You convince the customer to opt in to the loyalty program, and they know that you're going to give them data, you're going to collect data, you're going to, profile them, you're going to try and sell them more stuff, but they expect something in return. And that could be, points that lead to rewards, or it could be better recognition or tiers, which is related to tier status, or, whatever might appeal to an individual customer to motivate them, to build a more emotional relationship with a brand. And so we're talking about retail today, and obviously Macy's and Nordstrom and Gap and hundreds of other brands all have loyalty programs, most of them with their own loyalty points. And it's my view that in the United States in particular, we've gotten to a point where there's so much fragmentation of points because most customers just can't spend enough money with any one brand to earn enough points to get to interesting rewards. And so they end up with a tiny number of points spread across dozens of loyalty programs. And that degree of fragmentation means that the perceived value of the points in most of those programs is quite low. And therefore, the ability of a brand to influence customer behavior with points is also relatively low. And so we believe that over time, complementary brands, need to collaborate with each other to issue whatever points the customer wants to collect. And those could be Home Depot points or Gap points or Nordstrom points or United Airlines points or Hilton Honors points. But I think what's going to happen over time is a lot of the medium and smaller brands are going to abandon issuing their own points because they just don't have that much impact on a customer. But like Bob said, if mileage plus miles from United really motivate his behavior, then you'll find retailers issuing points in mileage plus rather than their own. But I think, these ecosystems of partners that are complementary by nature. So you're not going to collaborate with your competitors, but there are certainly, many categories in which customers spend money every month. If you can aggregate partners that are willing to issue your points or you're willing to issue their points, then I actually do think the points can have a much bigger influence because you'll be able to capture a lot more value based on your monthly spend.
What's happening this?
Oh, go ahead, Chase.
I wanted to ask what's happening this year during all this financial pressure of the tariffs compared to a year of, happy spending, where customers this year are really getting squeezed.
Well, it's actually influencing purchases because they want to make sure that they get what they need that's on the shelf today. That's happening. You're also seeing a lot of advertising on television. It doesn't have to do with retail in the automotive category, where they're celebrating where the product is made and made in America. And you got a lot of American flags on television commercials these days. So it's an interesting dynamic. And then, you see other announcements about what Apple is doing and other companies shifting their manufacturing to plants that have been underutilized. Even Volvo has an underutilized plant, and now they're going to be making the product there instead of in China or otherwise. So it's a dynamic that says, if my economics are pressured and I'm paying 7% more in groceries, which was the latest statistic that came out, right, Bob, that people are going to be more conscious, but the grocery companies aren't giving you value. I mean, maybe they'll do the Monopoly program for the 150th time, or they'll give you a free pan. So in grocery, they're not doing much to satisfy any kind of issues relative to the increasing cost of meat that's coming from Brazil at a 50% tariff. And then in other categories, go walk into a Target and go into the toy department and see how weak the shelves are right now. We just went shopping for our grandkids. Yes, I have grandkids. And it's embarrassing what's there. So it's having significant effect in a whole bunch of areas. But if you can target the customer and encourage them to stay loyal to you, that's what's most important, by understanding what their needs are, what their preferences are, and have your offers and your communications be matched to what their needs are. But there's a lot of pressure that's out there, no doubt. But I went through a whole bunch of different categories, and hopefully some of that rang true for those that are watching as well. Bob, what do you think?
Excuse me, I apologize for that. I think the one that you've left out so far, we're a third of the way through this broadcast, and no one's mentioned Amazon. Amazon's the biggest loyalty company around with Buy with Prime. Because if I buy anything with Buy with Prime, it's going to show up in my Amazon account, and I'm going to see it. Maybe I don't get points, but I certainly have trust, and I certainly have an awful lot of analytics that we are willing to actually pay for the right to have that rewards program, which is kind of amazing. So I think that has to be included in any discussion of loyalty, because they definitely figured that out at a much greater scale. And I think we're going to see Buy with Prime, to your point, Charles, about the idea of having, maybe they're not going to offer their own loyalty programs. I imagine a lot of people say, oh, we'll never do that with Amazon. Well, why not? Because they're in 85% penetration in households. So I think that's an important one to add into the mix. There you go.
What does everyone think of the subscription paid loyalty programs such as Amazon Prime? Have other companies applied that effectively?
Yeah, I think the subscription model works. In the case of Amazon Prime, it's easy to do the math of how much the Prime subscription costs and what the benefits are. So access to, media and movies, things like that, free delivery, next day delivery, There might be some discounts allocated to people that belong to Prime, or maybe people in Prime are paying a little bit of a premium even. But people can do the math. There are other subscription programs which might be, related to a spa treatment series, or free returns, or, it depends on each business to define what its value added services are, and try to package those up in a way where the customer feels like, oh, if I spend $50, I'm going to get $100 worth of value. And once you get the customer to opt into a subscription program, they're probably going to give you close to 100% of their share of wallet in the category where they're spending. So I think subscription programs can work very, very well for certain types of businesses. I'm not convinced that they work well for all types of businesses, but absolutely, Amazon Prime is a classic example, and they've done remarkably well with that.
Have you seen it fail?
Pardon?
Have you seen it fail?
Well, I've certainly seen subscription programs where customer take up was less than 5%. And the brand might not think that's a failure. If they got 5% of their best customers to participate in a subscription program, that generated some incremental revenue, but it probably captured more share of wallet among those 5% of customers. In Amazon Prime, it's going to be 70 or 80%, take up on Prime. It could be 85%, as Bob said. Most retail brands might shoot for 20 or 30% of total customers, trying to get them into a subscription program. But coming back to one of the comments David shared, during the COVID crisis, we saw redemptions on our platform. We process loyalty transactions for hundreds of different companies. And in good economic times, people are redeeming for a trip to Palm Springs, or a free hotel room, or a spa treatment, or whatever. But during COVID, we saw most of the redemptions going to fuel and groceries, and necessary household goods. And so people do try to use the loyalty value that they're accumulating to meet short-term needs. And so I feel like there's a lot of anxiety in society right now because they're not sure what's going to happen in the future. But unemployment rates are still relatively low. So there's not a lot of financial pain in the market. I just think there's a lot of anxiety that's influencing people's behavior. But certainly loyalty programs can, leverage that to their own benefit by delivering more value based on what people want really right now, and then possibly modifying the program in a year or two, based on whatever realities exist at that time, in order to apply to or appeal to people's aspirational goals, or whatever is relevant at the time.
The double factor is what you should apply. So Chuck is 100% right. If you're going to charge $50 hard money to be in the program, you need to deliver over $100 in value back to the customer that is the subscriber for the 1-year deal. Amazon, I love it. Okay, they know what they're doing. They've got so many scientists figuring it out to personalize your experience. The convenience of delivering within 2 hours and multiple times in a day and get you what you need, and the convenience that's associated with that, let alone the reduced cost of fuel to be able to do all that shopping. And you can do other things with your life, all works. That works. And it's because they also have all that programming. So that takes your eye off of price, and you probably are paying more on a ticketed item because you're buying through them and you get that convenience. But we get calls all the time from companies that say, I want to do a paid program, and I want to retain my best of best customers, and I want to give incremental value to the ones that are splitting their behavior between me and the competition, and get them over. And then if they're paying, it's retention. However, there's a huge cost that's associated with adding a subscription program. You have cancellations. You have to chase after renewals. You have more inbound phone calls that are coming through when it's subscription, because now that they're paying for it, they expect even better service. And you need to differentiate the value that you're providing to the subscriber, which means you need to adjust whatever it is that you were doing before you added the subscription program, and now you have a subscription program in place. Lastly, 5%, which Chuck just gave as an example, or maybe you project a 20 or 30. I'm not going to split hairs about any of that, but if you're doing that financial model that I talked about, you're going to figure out pretty darn quickly if 5% is even worthwhile to then put a paid program in place. So the first place you have to start with before anything is segment out your customers, high, medium, and low, figure it out by decile or by quartile, figure out who's going to go and take advantage of it, use in-depth research, whether it's focus groups or quant study, whether it's qual or quant, to get a voice of customer to find out what is going to motivate them. So we have a client right now that has a paid program, and they have a paid program with differentiated service by tier. So just adding 1 or 2% more of those occasional customers to either one of those 3 tiers could represent significant millions of dollars incrementally to their bottom line, because they're open 24/7. So it's not a matter of capacity, it's a matter of what incrementally can we provide, and we don't want to provide discounts. So that's where partners come in, as Chuck was saying, and so on. So it's a really big deal. And I'll just point out one program that failed that I always beat up: Best Buy. You go to the desk and you get repairs, and there's that Blue Squad or whatever it is that they called it. I forgot what it was called, and charging a ridiculous amount of money to then bring it in to get your stuff repaired. And then when it's outside a warranty or they don't have the parts, they turn you away. I doubt that that program is successful. But that's just one that I can call out, because they also ruined their reward zone program and whatever it is that they call it. And it's so poorly funded that no one bothers. And to Charles's point, the amount that you get in terms of value, maybe you can get $5 off for the year. So the points are useless.
Well, I think loyalty is only going to work if you're going to buy things on a regular basis. Best Buy, you might buy a TV every 5 years, so big deal. I mean, it's not like, I think that's the challenge. If I went to the movies a lot, all right, so Regal Cinemas has something, I'm going to get free popcorn or something. Okay, well, that's a value because I'm going there, and maybe you can get me to go one extra movie a month or a year or something like that. But I think that's the other thing, that really, unless you have a regular pattern of going to certain stores, that's another, that's why restaurants and hotels and airlines probably do better than retail in it, just for the simple fact that people have a lot of different stores to go through. I mean, I think I've turned off most of Macy's, and Nordstrom was like, oh, you get early access to our private sale. It's like, so you're just going to let me see the stuff a couple of days early and not buy it? Like, okay, whatever. But I'm sure in their head that there are people that go through and they live for that. I just don't know how many of us are living for the deal or the loyalty to begin with. We have so much information coming at us. And frankly, we are in crazy times for the next 3 years. Who knows what's going to happen on a day-to-day basis? I'm glad I'm not a marketer trying to vet out loyalty, because it's nuts. But the reality is that if it's going to cost me $10 more, I'm going to save 2% less, or even 20%. I don't think that's the compelling reason for most people to go in. And again, we're talking about at different levels, but I don't think Walmart's come out with a loyalty card, have they?
No, they have
Walmart
the immediate service, Walmart Plus. Correct.
Yeah, so it's their paid version, but that's generally for more online, kind of trying to go up against Prime, Amazon, right?
Well, or you order online and pick up in store, or et cetera. So that's what it's to combat Amazon.
But you're not going to save 20% of your groceries, is my point. You're not going to get that kind of a thing. So people who most could use the price difference of a loyalty program aren't going to be getting it from that. And I'm not sure. I know when I go to our local Tops, I'm in upstate New York, and I have my little card and they always scan it. And yeah, you do show a few bucks every time, and that's a real value that you see. And it's like, okay, if I didn't have my little card, I'd get it. But is it really compelling me to shop there, or is it more like I was going to go there anyway? I'll see what I can get. And
well, you may see some
changing behavior, or are you just
it's adding
behavior?
Yeah, it's adding. You may add.
Is it really driving anything?
Yeah, you may have excuse me. You may wind up with a bigger basket as a result of getting two-tiered pricing, correct? And I love what you said just a second ago, and then Chuck jump in, which is, I think programs are less relevant today than ever before, which is scary for me to say since I've been in this business as long as I have, because people's lives are so busy and distracted, and we are all overwhelmed by so much in the way of messaging. I remember in my old ad agency days, I think you get hit by about, believe it or not, 2,000 branded impressions a day. If you add everything up, you don't realize it, but you're driving in a car, you see different logos, turn left, turn right, do whatever you're going to do, looking and scrolling with your screen, et cetera, et cetera. And so loyalty needs to be relevant to the individual, and you need to meet them at that point in time or know where they're going to be buying a washer and dryer or a refrigerator or stereo equipment or a flat screen TV. And if you don't know those things based upon what the profile of the household is and the age of their, equipment, let's call it white goods, which is, every 10 years, if they hold up for 10 years, you need to understand all of that information, or you need to do the modeling and find those lookalike customers to be able to market effectively. So in today's world, with AI informing the personalization and agentic AI, even enabling it even further in terms of personalization and content and so on, it's an even bigger challenge today to even jump into the loyalty pool or be a practitioner today. Charles?
Yeah, to build on that, you said that in a subscription program, people have to perceive at least double the value. And I completely agree with that. I think in non-prescription or subscription programs, the customer has to believe that they're going to earn at least $25 per year in economic value, one way or another, in order to justify, signing up. Because otherwise, if you're going to get $5 worth of benefits, that's less than the cost of a beer. So you're just not going to bother. But there, like in Europe, for example, there's a retail group in Germany and Eastern Europe called KIK, K-I-K, which stands for Customer is King. And they're a deep discounter, but they have one of the most successful loyalty programs on the planet. And they do give points to customers, but mostly they treat customers with special services, recognition when they come in the stores, and their KPIs are amazing. That the basket size of a loyalty program member is 1.7 times the size of a non-member. Frequency in store visits is 2.5 times greater than a non-member. And obviously there's some self-selection bias involved in those numbers. But even discounters, are able to find the margin to fund rewards to influence customer behavior. So, but at the end of the day, a loyalty program, is really a mechanism for capturing insight about your customers so that you can build better customer profiles, and with modern technology, improve personalization, which drives conversion, which hopefully, creates a self-fulfilling loop where you're maximizing value from the loyalty program member because you're delivering maximum value to that member. But at the end of the day, it's not the points that create loyalty, it's your experience with the brand and your overall perception of value. Because just like Bob said earlier, I'm more than happy to spend $10 more for something with a brand that I think has my back, is ready to step up and help me if I have a problem. Maybe the quality of goods, are a little bit better, but, I buy based on overall perceived value, not lowest cost. And I can't say that I'm representative of most American consumers, but I think people are focused more on value than cost.
Well, depending upon your economic class, yes. But I guarantee you, and Bob, jump in, I guarantee you grocery companies could care less about all the things that you just talked about. It's all about matching against the basket and knowing how to go and merchandise the store. It's all about merchant planning and analysis. They could care less.
It's all about knowing who's in the house.
Pardon me?
Grocery is all about knowing who's in the house. If I know it's in the basket, I know who's in the house, and I can sell that merchandise. I can sell that information over and over to people. I mean, that's why Target, that's why Walmart, that's why Amazon all have grocery, because they can go through. If I know what's in the grocery cart, I know who's in the house. I know someone elderly. I know someone who is young. I know the taste profiles, and then I can target everything accordingly. I mean, it is a data play. There's no two ways about it. We are exchanging data for some perceived value, and I think the challenge for everybody is when you remove that layer, then what's in it for the consumer, and it's rarely going to be a trip to LAX from Palm Springs paid by the airline. So there you go.
I would think so. So what are you guys hearing, seeing, thinking about retail media and the intersection of retail media and loyalty? You got some opinions there?
I don't think
This
retail
might-
media is going to change.
This might be relevant. There's a question I could put on the screen here. I think it is relevant because she's talking about banks, credit cards and cashback loyalty programs, and there's a media component in there as well. But she says, from your perspective, what is the single biggest lesson you think banks could learn from modern retail loyalty when it comes to building a genuine emotional connection with customers?
Yeah, I have a really strong opinion on this one. I think banks have been in a golden position for 25, 30 years where they have access to credit card spend because they're issuing the credit card. They have access to, other things that you're paying for out of their bank account. When we used to write checks, they could see who the check was made payable to. Now they have it all in digital format where they can, see who you're paying. And banks also have thousands, if not millions, of retail merchants that use their bank. And what they have never done successfully is match their retail network with their consumer network to help their consumers get more value from their retail clients, or vice versa. And I think they could build amazing ecosystems within, the bank ecosystem where merchants could acquire customer purchase volume frequency at a much lower cost than the cashback and affiliate marketing fees and Google search fees that they're paying today, by offering better value to the consumers, and the consumers could get much better value from those merchants, creating a self-fulfilling prophecy for the bank where they're creating value on both sides of the bank, the consumer side and the merchant side. And so banks today, I think, are largely being lazy, where they're just issuing points based on your credit card spend because they're making too much money from the interchange fee, the fee that goes to Visa, MasterCard, or American Express. So if banks really wanted to build a more emotional relationship with their customers, they could improve their profiling of their customers and find very interesting ways to deliver more value to those consumers and create a much stickier relationship.
All right. Well, I'm going to jump in here, K-Twan. I think when you ask at the end of it, when it comes to building a genuine, what is the single biggest lesson you think banks could learn from modern retail loyalty when it comes to building a genuine emotional connection with customers? Retailers are not building an emotional connection with most customers these days. It's promotions, and it is cut the store staff down to nothing and don't give them training, and then decry Amazon. Let's be honest. And the world I work in is the retailers who say that's not going to be us, and it's a big, heavy lift because you're dealing with people, and they have metrics in place that it comes down to, did you make the customer feel that they matter in a human-to-human world that is now being dictated by AI? When it comes to banks, I walk in, I've got 2 or 3 different accounts, different banking companies, and it's kind of the same thing. You put it on the thing. How's your day going? Fine. They do it and they're out. Like, couldn't you do anything to have an emotion involved in banking? Of course you could. Sandy Dennis back in, my God, 72 was the one who made First Interstate Bank friendly, and those commercials are what made her into a superstar, because it was a very personal service and they spent a lot of money and time doing that. I don't think the I think most people would say we don't need that in a bank. I could do it all online, just like people say I don't need it in a store. I can buy it online, except that if I walk into your brick and mortar store, I'm going in there to discover. I'm gonna have a story about how I purchased it and the product I buy, and it's the same thing in a bank. That is, much as we can poo-poo it and say it doesn't matter, that's like It's a Wonderful Life and the Bailey brick and loan company, right? Doesn't matter. I think it does matter, and I think what we're going to end up doing is there's going to be this big split that's going to happen. That the people that really want to have people in their lives are going to stop hiring people who don't want people in their lives, and they're going to realize, like, oh, maybe that's where we got it wrong, and then they're going to invest in those people, and those are the people who are going to make more money, because that's what we're going to pay for when AI. And please stop using personalization. It's not personal that my email comes up and knows that I bought a pair of Nikes, and that's personal. That's not personal. That's an algorithm. Personal is somebody that actually has a conversation with me. So that's my banker, and that is my store. And I'm going to get off my little soapbox there. So there you go.
There you go.
You agree with me? Put a comment in below. All right.
So what do you have you picked up on what Capital One is attempting to do in terms of building a personality and making it a welcoming place? Do you think it's all BS, or do you
I don't know what
that
Capital One is doing offhand.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's worth looking at.
What are they doing?
They putting cafes in the bank, and we're a friendly environment. We want you to come here and talk with us and share with us what your future goals are. And just because you've got us for checking and savings, maybe you'd like to do some sit down with an investment banker separate from the bank manager, and they can visit with you and spend time with you and help you to build your net worth. So that is what they're attempting to do. And also JP Morgan is doing the same thing on a one-to-one basis. So, their problem is their fees suck and their return is even worse. So you'd be a dummy I was going to use a different word, to wind up investing with JP Morgan, with the personal guy, but he will sit down with you and go through everything and give you beautiful brochures. But I like what Capital One is doing, because they're matching up personality and so on. I've always said this, and if you go back and read anything I've written, the number one factor for affinity and loyalty in retail is the associate. They are your emissary. They are your advocate. They understand how the program works. They're the one that goes and explains to the customer why they should sign up. And hopefully, based upon your business model, you can have the associate participate in the program as well as your valued customers. So spending time in training, change management, videos, setting it up with key performance index goals to be able to go and match it back to human resources, and therefore their performance of their store is matched back to their performance in the loyalty program as a percentage of sales, average order value, units per transaction, frequency, redemptions. So you're actually saying, hey, you've got $15 in your profile right now. I can see it on the point of sale screen. Would you like to save $15 today? And you promote it. I mean, those were the things that I did when I was running it at American Eagle Outfitters, and it was amazingly successful and delivered over $100 million in incremental lift to the business. You have to have it as enterprise-wide. If it's just a throwaway, or it's nice to have, or you're just matching the competition, you're not going to be able to go and achieve both the right brain and the left brain component, right brain being financial metrics, savings, and left brain being better service, better access, special shopper events, all the things that bringing in partners. That's, the perfect mix, I guess I would say.
Does that lead to a stronger clienteling approach,
Yes.
like Saks,
Yes.
where the actual associate has their own little list of customers that they can stay in touch with, and they can ping them about new products that might fit them?
God, yes.
Can that be applied across other types of stores?
Not all, but just think about, your spouse or your wife's experience at the cosmetic counter or the fragrance counter at their favorite department store. Those individuals are paid on a commission basis, incremental, They understand and remember what shade of blush they wear and which is their favorite eyeliner and what's their favorite fragrance. And they make proactive calls to the customer when new purses come in or new products come in and so on. That's beautiful clienteling. Okay. It's the only place where that happens, like at a Macy's, other than maybe in the men's department where you once did, custom suits. Okay. Or a Nordstrom. If you're selling shoes at Nordstrom's, that customer and they're into their shoes, just like Carrie in,
that all sounds great. I'm sorry. That's not what's going on in most retailers. That all sounds great. We've heard that for years. It doesn't happen. I'm sorry. I shop at Nordstrom's a lot. I have one guy that if I go to, he's good. But I'm just saying the bar has been very low for all of these places. Most people do not clientele. They do not train their employees. They do not reward their employees. After COVID, having to fire a bunch of them, it's been really hard to say we believe in our associates again. And the retailers who are struggling are trying to figure that out. But please don't say that these things are commonplace. People are not clienteling. And more importantly, they're being told over and over again that retail, the turnover is too high for us to invest in people. So it just kind of continues to spiral out. So
I was not saying, Bob, I'm glad you said that. Sorry. I wasn't saying it was commonplace. I was describing best practices.
Okay. Well, you made it sound like it was. But Charles, what's going on in Barcelona? Why aren't we hearing from you, man?
Well, first of all, I like the debate that's taking place. I will say that, again, I'm not the target customer for most loyalty programs, but in my neighborhood, I mean, in Europe, you have lots of grocery stores and fruit markets in your neighborhood. So within 200 yards of my house, I have 4 grocery stores. And I use one of them when I'm buying things that I want the lowest price and I know the brand I want. I have another one where I want the freshest fruit or meat. And there's a third one where I want the best experience, and it's a service experience where the employees care that you came into the store. And so I guess I'm reinforcing, what David, you said, that I think delivering a good experience to the customer in your store is of paramount importance. I also agree with Bob that most brands are not doing that today.
So and that's Bob, it's always, so you think it's going to be downhill from here? Like it's never going to get re-energized or recommitted anytime?
Hey, I have clients around the world that have committed to doing my online retail sales training. And the number one thing is this is going to take work. Yeah, it is going to take work.
Always.
And unless it starts at the top, which it usually doesn't because everybody else can see it. I mean, what the heck is going on at Target right now? Like, that's a whole nother story, Chase. But you look around and all the reports are coming in about associates are not having the time to do things and the outs. Who's looking at that? Well, we all are looking at it. Thank you, Mohammed. I appreciate that. But at the end of the day, we have given up on people in retail. Retail is what normalizes people. That's what young people have to do. You go into a retail store to learn that it's not about you. And when you learn that, you can actually go to different places in your career because you learn it's not about you. Unless you're going to go and work at a restaurant or a hotel or a retail store and go like, holy crap, I got to weigh on 100 people. Yeah, you do. And you're young and you can do it. Go do it. Because a lot of people who've mastered that have been able to make a great career in it. A lot of people in C-level suites, et cetera. But when they actually look at, well, where are we lacking? I think the blinders are on and the excuses are out and there's another PR. We're now using AI to do personalized offers. Like, oh, that's so original. Wow, that's amazing. Because the hard fact is, until we give voice lessons to a group of people who have grown up during COVID and texted, unless we're willing to do that, we are going to continue to see high rise in suicides and loneliness and people not getting married and committing to each other because we're all more lonely because we aren't learning to be a community. And that starts in a retail store. And that brings me to the end of my time. So there you go. You're welcome.
Love it. Love it. You drove it all the way home. This has been such a great conversation. A healthy debate, good perspectives in the room.
But I'm doing great.
This has been amazing. So thank you all for being here. And we're up to the end of our time. So we'll end the stream and we'll see everyone on the next RetailWire Roundtable.
This was
Good.
fantastic. Thanks, Chase.
Yeah, bye, everybody.
Stay on while I end.
Stay on. Stay on. Don't